this meeting of the Poway Unified Board of Education will come to order now. It's 6:05 and it is November 15th, 2016. Welcome. Our first order of business is a report out of closed session. Clerk Patapow.
Okay, closed session began at 4:09 p.m. And number 2, in the matter of the public employee discipline dismissal release complaint on a motion by T.J. Zane, seconded by A. Patapaw, the board voted to approve the recommendation of the attorneys to ratify the resignation agreement and general release between the Poway Unified School District and certificated employee number 120-835. Item number 3, in the matter of conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, case number TC-17-09, on a motion by T.J. Zane, seconded by Beatty Kimberly. The board voted to reject the claim. Unanimous vote, 5 ayes. Item 4, no action taken. Item 5, 6, no action taken. Number 7, in a matter of conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, case number 37-20-15-00003285 CUMC-CTL. I hope someone can understand that. Motion by T.J. Zane and a second by Ms. Beatty. The board voted to reject the claim, and the board voted all in favor. No other reportable action was taken during closed session. The closed session adjourned at 5:40 p.m.
Thank you, Clerk Patapow. Our next item, I'd invite everyone to rise and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll note that all members are in attendance today. And for our welcome to the public, Ms. Beatty.
Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Board of Education. If you would like to address the board on any agenda item, please complete a speaker's slip. All requests to speak must be submitted to the clerk of the board before the agenda item comes up. Item C is placed on our agenda to enable members of our community to bring items that are not placed anywhere else on the agenda to the board's attention. If there are concerns regarding specific individuals, it is preferred that the speaker refrain from naming them publicly to respect their privacy. The board will accept and review any written materials that would provide more specific information. The Brown Act does not permit board action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda, but your concerns will be referred to staff. With that said, welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Beatty. Agenda item A6, we have approval of several minutes here. So I'd like to start with the minutes of October 18th, 2016. Are there any changes to offer? I have a motion by Mr. Patapow.
Second.
Second by Mr. Zane. Any discussion on the October 18 minutes? All right, in that case, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that, I'm sorry, includes our preferential vote from our student board member. The regular board meeting of October 26, 2016. Any amendments to offer to those minutes? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
On a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Mr. Patapow, all in favor of approving the October 26, 2016 minutes as presented? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that includes everyone, including our student board member. And finally, our November 2nd, 2016 special board meeting minutes. Any amendments to offer there? All right, seeing none.
Move to approve.
Second.
On a motion by Mr. Patapow, second by Mr. Zane. All in favor of approving the November 2nd special board meeting minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. That passes unanimously as well. Thank you. We're going to zip through this. A7, this is approval of the agenda sequence. Dr. Robertson.
Thank you, Madam President. We request from the board that we move forward L1 for discussion, as we have members here that will be presenting with us.
And where are we moving that? Looking for it. Mr. Zhang, yes, please.
Madam President, I'd like to request or propose that we move item L1 and insert it after item D501.
Is there a second on that motion? Any discussion of that? All right, then on a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Mr. Patapow, all those in favor of moving L1 to, and I'm sorry, I missed the number, after D501?
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's unanimous as well, and give me one moment to actually move it. Okay, not until, okay. Thank you. Right after D501. Okay. Okay, thank you. Then item A8, this is our consent calendar. I'm going to start with our student board member. Is there any item you would like to pull?
No, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Sellers.
I would like to pull E302, please.
Ms. Beatty.
I would like to pull E204.
Mr. Patapow.
Thank you, Ms. Beatty just pulled it.
Okay, and we have a,
E204.
and there's a speaker on that
request.
as well, okay. Mr. Zane.
No items.
And I'd like to pull E304. So again, if you'll allow me a moment to move it. Actually, before I start rearranging my binder and forget altogether, are there any other items to pull from the consent calendar? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of 204, 302, and 304.
Move to approve.
All right, on a motion by Mr. Patapow, second by Mr. Zane. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No abstentions. All right, that passes unanimously. Now I'll rearrange. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to try not to click my binder around too much, but I would like to start with our student board representative reports then. First up, let's do Reagan Cloutier from Del Norte High School. Welcome.
Good evening. It is my privilege to be reporting to the Board of Education tonight. Here's what's been happening in the nest. College ready. Nighthawks just wrapped up their trimester 1 finals and they rocked it. Our Nighthawks have worked so hard this past trimester and we are so proud of them. With the end of trimester 1 comes the beginning of trimester 2, and our counselors have been hard at work helping our Nighthawks with their scheduling. Future focused. This past week, we held our trimesterly night at the museum where all of our fine arts students were able to showcase their work to the community. In very exciting news, our girls volleyball team is the San Diego CIF Division I champions. We are so proud of our girls, and it is our first CIF volleyball title. We will be hosting the state regional game here at the Nest on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Our boys cross country team dominated this weekend, winning the Palomar League title in their first year in that league, with several of our runners winning first and second team league honors. Today, our very own student Ethan Choi was honored as NBC's Inspirational Student of the Month for his dedication to improving our community. We are so excited and lucky to have such an amazing person on our campus. Also, Rose Hong is one of the few students nationwide that is a Simmons National Competition finalist. She is being recognized for her innovation in the STEM field. Our fall pep rally focused on inclusion and included dance performances from our Best Buddies Club, who danced to Thriller, and our teachers who danced to the current pop culture hit Juju on That Beat, which was quite memorable for our entire student body. We are also holding a Principal's Coffee for Design 39 families, where those parents will be able to ask our principal and hear from our current high school students about Del Norte and the opportunities it has for their students. Globally aware, Del Norte hosted the first ever Best Buddies Friendship Walk a couple weeks ago, and it had a great turnout. This week at the Nest, we are holding Global Awareness Week. We are holding a multicultural fashion show, and we are fundraising for the $1 for Life organization. We are raising money to help build a birthing center in Nepal. Nighthawks are being encouraged to donate $1 each to reach our goal. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, it's a great day to be a Nighthawk.
Thank you very much. Just for a change of pace, I'm just going to go down in the actual order it's written. So how about Grace Hard from Mount Carmel High School?
Good evening, board members. I'm glad to be speaking with you tonight. I am pleased to inform you that Trimester 2 has begun, and our Sun Devils are glad to be done with finals for Trimester 1. Sadly, almost all of our fall sports have come to an end, and we are extremely proud of all of our sports teams and players. They always make us proud. Our football team is playing yet another game in the playoffs this Friday, and all of our players are still working hard and putting in tremendous amount of time and effort into their practice in order to prepare for their game day. Aside from sports, our very own Mount Carmel High School band held an all-day tournament on Saturday, October 29th, in which 7,000 people attended, and SDSU's band performed as well. Chorus had a concert on October 27th, called Strange Things in honor of Halloween. Speaking of Halloween, since it was on a school day, our Sun Devils dressed up in their costumes, and during lunch, we had a costume contest, which turned out great. Everybody is looking forward to a fresh start with a new trimester, and we're especially looking forward to Thanksgiving break. Looking into the future, ASB is already preparing for winter formal and our winter pep rally, which is titled Pick Your Playlist, in which the theme is music, and we will incorporate many genres of music into our games and decorations. This year is moving by very quickly, but our Sun Devils are capable of anything, and we see a bright future for every aspect of Mount Carmel students. Thank you, and remember, it's great to be a Sun Devil.
Thanks very much. Simon Shapiro from Poway High School. Bleed green. We all are up here today. We got a memo, apparently. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Spirits are high at Poway. The fall sports season is coming to an end, and Titans are excited to be watching our 9-1 football team in playoffs. We're also proud of our tennis, field hockey, and boys water polo teams, who are all league champions. Part of the festivities surrounding the end of our sports season was the annual Titan Times Assembly put on by the seniors to get students pumped up for our home rivalry football game. This year we hired a professional DJ to play music at the game, and one of our ASB members created game-specific Snapchat filters. Snapchat provided analytics, and the filters were viewed and sent almost 70,000 times. Our theater program put on a production called Stage Door, telling the story of aspiring actresses growing up in impoverished boarding houses in Europe, and choir performed in a festival at Point Loma Nazarene University. Near the end of October, our Republican Club and our Democrat Club united to hold a nonpartisan voter registration drive in which they registered almost 100 students. ASB is currently hosting a week-long canned food drive, and we hope to feed 1,000 local families during the holidays. Last year, we collected enough cans to feed 800 local families, but this year teachers have been very invested, rewarding their class with donuts or, for some of our male staff, promising to dye their beards with neon colors if their class brings in enough cans. With the kind of participation we have seen from our staff, this year ASB's goal to feed 1,000 families does not seem overly ambitious. Speaking of teachers, last month ASB set up tables around lunch where students could play teachers in different board games to interact with them in a setting outside of the classroom. We received positive feedback and are hoping to make this opportunity available to students at least once a month. Our next teacher-student board game session is this Thursday. That is all for this last month in review. I'm Simon Shapiro. Thank you for letting me update you, and thank you for listening.
Are they letting you win? That's what I want to know. All right. Sahar Salehi from Rancho Bernardo High School.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be able to let you guys know what's going on the RBHS campus. In the spirit of Halloween and fall, ASB held our first annual pumpkin decorating activity in the small quad. We decorated 100 pumpkins, which was clearly not enough for our students. The Bronco players put on the Crucible, which was a huge success. It was a very moving performance. Volleyball, cross country, and tennis have all wrapped up their seasons. Girls golf won their first CIF championship in school history. Our football team went undefeated for the first time and won the Palomar League title for the third time in a row. This Friday night, they play Oceanside at home. Band has been busy in their tournament season and are ranked 6th overall in their division. Things we are excited about and working on. ASB is organizing a gratitude turkey where students can write what they are grateful for and stick it on the turkey in the small quad. The purpose is to highlight what students are thankful for in their lives. Our winter dance concert is coming up, which starts all of our winter and holiday performances. ASB is planning our winter formal, which will be held at the Performing Arts Center in Escondido in January. Boys water polo and girls field hockey all have playoff games this week. Thank you, and it's an honor to be able to present to you what's going on at RBHS.
And from Westview High School, Annie Vu. Welcome.
Good evening. Westview has had a very busy month. A couple weeks ago, AP government students held a mock presidential election where students had the opportunity to experience the government process and cast their votes. Also, yesterday and today, sophomores had the opportunity to engage in our annual Human Relations and Unity workshop. Keith Hawkins has been our keynote speaker for over 10 years, and each year he leaves students inspired and motivated to come together. Beyond just Unity workshops for the sophomores, this week we are airing an important video tomorrow to remind our student body that now more than ever, given the current political climate, we must affirm our community values of tolerance and respect for different views. Election results do not change what we value on campus: peace, respect, and tolerance for all diverse perspectives. Students also have the opportunity to send anyone on campus a compliment, which will all be delivered to homerooms with a flower this Friday. We are hoping to deliver hundreds of compliments. Our performing arts programs have been extremely busy. Theater performed their student-driven one acts last week, and our choir traveled to Magic Mountain for a competition where they came in first in the women's choir division and first overall. This week, our competitive band will be hosting their first ever all-school assembly to watch their competitive field show. And in the athletics world, our boys water polo team will be playing in CIF finals on Saturday. Our field hockey team is moving into CIF semifinals, and girls volleyball is playing in states tomorrow. Students are excited for Thanksgiving break, but are looking forward to coming back for our annual dodgeball tournament, which will be taking place the first Monday of December, where teachers and students get extremely competitive for the tournament. Also, ASB will be hosting the Exec Campaign Week for the 2017 Exec Board. We are excited for the upcoming months, and thank you.
Thank you all very much for being here. great presentations. I'm so impressed with everything that's going on. Every campus doing something a little bit different, very unique, very impressive, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to move on to our superintendent's briefing. Dr. Robertson.
Thank you, Madam President. So tonight we have many recognitions of note to present to the board this evening. And please look at the board packet. They have lots of descriptions in the B2 area. I encourage you to read them. And in the interest of time, we'll be highlighting just a couple tonight. So Creekside Elementary's Principal Christine Donnelly just returned from Washington, D.C., where she accepted the National Blue Ribbon Award on her school's behalf. I want to bring her and her staff up to be recognized with their Blue Ribbon banner. U.S. Secretary of Education John B. King recognizes schools based on their overall academic excellence and demonstrating that all students can achieve to high levels. Creekside Elementary is one of only 29 schools chosen in California and 329 in the country. If I can bring Christine Donnelly and her team forward with your banner, we are going to take a picture. Well, at least we're at the other ends of one another. All right, as we've done in the past, every month we hope to showcase one of our school's art, writing, or photography at our board meetings to bring our students' amazing work to you. This month, the artwork in the glass showcase that's right outside belongs to students of Del Sur Elementary School. Representing the school is art teacher Alyssa Navapanich, and her principal is also here. Alyssa, if you can please come up and tell us a little bit about your school and your students' work.
Thank you so much. I have had the honor of having students, my own children, in the district for 22 years, so that's pretty awesome. About 10 years ago, I started as an art docent at Deer Canyon, and 8 years ago, Doug found me. And I'm a K-8 credentialed teacher with a supplement in art for grades 9 and below. And our program is funded entirely through our foundation, which is amazing that our parents see the value in that and they continue to support it. Last year, I also got to be an artist in residence at Rolling Hills, so that was fun. Our art is, the program I created is for our preschool through grade 5 students. It's fluid, it's flexible. I like to change lessons year over year, and I like to work with the teachers in our classroom to see what they're doing and to bring that to the art room as well. So we like to integrate components such as science, social studies, language arts, and math while maintaining the California state standards for those grade levels. So I facilitated a whole bunch of family art nights. We did one 2 years ago with the circle painting program with Hip Nguyen, and so there are gigantic murals with circles that all the kids helped paint. We've done activities at Heritage Night. We've done crafts at our family picnic. Our students receive 15 lessons per year, and I teach them all the basics of art, from art elements, basic color theory, composition, elements of design. I integrate the old masters, but I also bring in new artists. So you'll see out there on the display there's a tiki, and that's based on the work of an artist who's working currently named Eric Abel. I try to bring in art that represents other cultures and genres. So we've done sand painting, we've done different toys, different three-dimensional art pieces as well from different cultures. And I try to expose the students to as many mediums as I can. So you'll see out in the display that there's things from printmaking to paint to oil pastel to collage. Our art is, I'm super proud of our students. We've had art displayed throughout the county over the years, including the County Office of Education, the San Diego Museum of Art, the San Diego Art Institute for Youth Art Month and Recycled Art Contest. The San Diego Museum of Art had the Young Artists Program. We had 6 pieces there, and one of our students was able to speak about his art at the museum. We've had art at the Francis Parker Rose Gallery and the San Diego County Fair. So with all those contests, our students compete with other students from all over the county, and we've had lots of awards. I think we're most proud of 2014's Youth Art Month Award from Mia Dyer. She's a first grader at the time, and her work won overall in the county first place, and she went on to Whittier College and then received a congressional recognition. Pretty exciting for a first grader. So 2 years ago, we created these huge murals in our hallway. You can see them in the stairwell. And this year, we just finished a Wings mural, which is based on the work of Kelsey Montague. It's a project called What Lifts You, and she's doing it all over the world. We do have a representation of that here in San Diego at the headquarters downtown. It was done for a Seaport Village thing. And now we have one in our hallway done by the students, and they've been taking pictures and hashtagging What Lifts You all week. My dream is for every student to have elementary art like ours do. I love when students come back to me and say, hey, Mrs. N, thanks for teaching me how to draw a cat's eye nebula, because now we're learning about it in astronomy. Or one of them will say, hey, I got to see a Degas at the Museum of Art. My favorite was a little boy who's in second grade who came up and said, have you seen the Delta Vega matte painting? And I said, no, but I'll go look it up right now. He was so excited to show me that he was seeing art in his world around him. So I'm sure you can tell I love to teach art, whether I'm teaching them how to hold a paintbrush to a 3-year-old, showing a teenager how to find more detail, or even sharing lessons with other teachers. I think Visual Awesome is an awesome way to bridge cultural, language, special needs. It brings everyone together. In my art room, I tell children there are no mistakes in art. So even Doug put his hand on our Kelsey Montague mural this week, and that was a lot of fun. So thank you so much for having our art here at the district office. I encourage you to stop by our art room and see what we're doing.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. I love your excitement and enthusiasm, so really appreciate your partnership. So another partnership I want to highlight tonight is between CTE, our communications director, and the advanced digital media class at Rancho Bernardo High School. The goal is to create a pilot internship where students could get real-world experience producing professional quality videos that would also increase awareness of programs to support the district's mission of college and career readiness. And that's how the Excellence in Education video series was born. So tonight, we're debuting their first piece, focused on foreign language in elementary schools.
It may look like fun and games, but at Adobe Bluffs Elementary School, these games are the building blocks of learning a new language.
We learned the basic greeting expressions, so we say hi to each other in Chinese. After they learned a few basic expressions, I create a scenario for them, and we use songs, dance, we learn body parts. I introduced Panda. So we use the puppet to introduce new concepts, new ideas, and they loved it.
These teaching techniques allow students to approach a challenging language in a fun way. Just weeks into Adobe Bluff's new Foreign Language in Elementary School program, students are already learning to read, write, and speak, all in Mandarin.
1、2、3、4、5、6. We'll say hi to people in Mandarin, which is 你好, which means hi, and then there's 谢谢, which means thank you, and 不客气, which means you're welcome.
In an increasingly global society, many educators believe that the earlier students are exposed to a foreign language, the better.
Our district's mantra of career ready is absolutely evidenced. It has a great pathway, again, to universities locally, nationally, and international opportunities.
Those opportunities are already being realized by students at Valley Elementary School.
I like it because if I learn more languages, I'm going to have more chances to get more jobs. And I'm the only one in my family that knows Spanish.
Valley's language program is an immersion model, with students from kindergarten to 5th grade spending 90% of their instructional time in Spanish.
It's okay sometimes when you don't know what's happening, but as long as they know that there's always someone there to help them, that really eases the transition for them.
The learning takes place regardless of any language that we're teaching in. So it doesn't matter that we're teaching in Spanish.
The students become fluent enough to tackle complex subjects.
Hacemos arte, lectura, matemáticas, escritura. Yo leo mucho.
The American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages links foreign language studies to higher academic achievement, memory skills, and cognitive abilities. For parents, the program is a win-win.
Oh, I love the program. It's definitely exceeded my expectations. The most important thing for me growing up was to have my children be bilingual, so I researched this program heavily, and so I was very excited when they got accepted, and I'm more than thrilled with the program so far.
And the smiles on the students' faces need no translation at all.
All right, at this time, I'd like to introduce you all to the creators of this incredible work. I'd like to welcome Rancho Bernardo High School teacher Ross Callan, his students, if you can all stand, please, Jordan, Jessica, Noel, Mia, Taylor, and Jack, so we can all applaud you for this debut. Ready to go on TV. That is so good. Thank you for that and highlighting our programs here. I want to take a moment to extend my warm congratulations to our elected board members, Ms. Kimberly Beatty, who's right here on the dais. We returning with our team, and Dr. Darshana Patel, who I thought I saw. Darshana, could you stand up, please? Who will both be who will be officially sworn in at next month's December 13th meeting. So on behalf of Cabinet and the district staff, we look forward to working with the whole team, continuing strengthening our mission of college and career readiness for all students. I also want to take a moment to thank all the candidates who ran for school board. It shows really the care and the trust that the community has in working with our kids in our schools, and that you're invested in our future. So thank you to those of you that are here and those of you who are not here. I think that that is a really important piece of evidence for us. Let's see. I want to let everyone know that this will be my final board meeting as the acting superintendent. So tonight the board is approving an interim superintendent. You'll hear more about him from our board president. And I'll be sure to work closely with him and ensure a smooth transition for all of us. And then, honestly, it's been a pleasure to serve as your acting superintendent for all these months. So some closing thoughts I'd like to share with all of you. Our Westview student talked about some of the videos that are going to be, or the video and some notes that are going to be shared at their high school. I just want to affirm the community that we're going to continue to provide your child with a safe learning environment where they can understand and respond to issues from various viewpoints in an articulate manner that is respectful of individuals. Some will call it joking, but this is not joking, because what this does, it affects the core of who a person identifies as. We've just had some incidences where this has happened. The mental and physical safety of our students are critical for learning and flourishing, and we are committed to our students and employees to provide that. It will take all of us working collaboratively and positively together to educate our students each day and hold one another accountable for our words and behaviors. I'd like to thank our parents who proactively connected with us and provided their thoughts. Our ongoing collaboration with our parents is critical for educating our students. I'd also like to thank our students who came forward and reported incidents that they knew were unacceptable. Our schools are diverse in so many ways: ethnicities, religion, gender identity, English as a second language, socioeconomic bands. We're very, very diverse. It is a strength that lights up rigor in dialogue and inquiry and in acceptance. Our strength as a community is needed to come together to provide for and prepare our students for the global world they will be immersed in throughout their lives. So let's work together to build a stronger future for our students so they can thrive and make the world a better place for all. And thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Robertson. As we move into our board member reports now, I do want to echo some of the things Dr. Robertson just expressed just now and in an email that she sent out earlier to our Poway Unified community. Just to say all students deserve to have school be a place where they feel safe and supported. And I guess I just kind of want to leave it there. No one should ever be teased or bullied for their culture, their religion, their gender, their beliefs, their abilities. Poway Unified is committed to creating and maintaining our positive educational experiences for all of our students here, setting that tone of respect and inclusiveness, and that's so important. I loved what Dr. Robertson wrote, and I'm going to quote her here. Poway Unified is a place where your kids are cared for by adults and peers who listen to their needs, understand who they are, and support who they want to become. I love that, and as I'm quoting her, I'm going to say she also mentioned that this is her last day as acting superintendent. So without getting ahead of ourselves too much, we're going to be later, pending approval of his contract, we'll have a new interim superintendent beginning tomorrow who will be with us until we hire a permanent superintendent, hopefully in February or maybe late January if we get everything going. Dr. Robertson, though, has done a really tremendous job in this role since April, minus 3 days, I guess. But this change is going to allow her to once again turn her whole focus to learning support services. And I personally can't thank her enough for the work she's done during this transition time for us. She's been incredible, and I just want to invite everybody to applaud her one more time. She said it's made my job as board president a lot of fun too. I'll have to say that. So I'll make the rest of this quick. I know I'm known for my long ones, but I'll try to go. I have attended a few exciting events over the last month that I want to tell you about. Canyon View Coyotes and the Rolling Hills Pumas both unveiled their brand new donation stations, courtesy of Make Change Count for Schools. This is a nonprofit started by Westview High School students. These meters give students and parents a chance, a convenient way really, to donate spare change, and it takes credit cards too, to benefit their schools. So it was fun to watch the students drop in those inaugural coins, hang out with those PTA and foundation volunteers, and Principal Battle and Principal Keller. And again, our very own philanthropist students from Make Change Count for Schools at Westview High School, and I did not write down their names, so I apologize. But look them up. They have a great Facebook page and website if you're interested in getting it at your school. I was also invited to help judge class homecoming floats at Westview High School. That was so much fun. Their theme was Off to Neverland, and they had 4 floats there, one for each class, depicting Crocodile Creek, Mermaid Lagoon, Captain Hook's pirate ship, and then Peter Pan's flying ship taking off over the London skyline with Big Ben. It was great. I had my daughter with me acting as assistant judge, but she refused to pick a winner. They were all that good, really. My son and I had a great time at the Jacko Smash race, and so thanks to everyone who came out for that. Got a little exercise. I think almost everybody was here for that. Miss Beatty's whole family. Oh, I'll leave it to her to tell you about that. But helping raise money for Poway Unified Special Education Foundation and our transition program at Abraxas, and also a therapeutic horse riding center where it's focused on Poway Unified students for the money that was raised there. So fantastic event as always. I've been over at Team Midland. Over there, they celebrated Poway Unified's longest employed crossing guard. They had a big crowd, signs, balloons before school. Ms. Pat Farrell has been on safety patrol there for 25 years. It was really such a community celebration. People who have been with her, who don't even work at Midland anymore, showed up to congratulate her, applaud her, be there for her. It was really, what a showing. Team Midland really is a team, and it's all part of Team PUSD. So it was really just, I was proud to watch it happening, and congratulations to Ms. Farrell as well. Speaking of teams, volunteers served up 101 pancake breakfasts at the Broken Yoke Cafe just a couple Saturdays ago to raise funds to support Ability Awareness Day at Adobe Bluffs Elementary School. So students there are building this inclusive, respectful campus community that we're talking about here as they begin to accept and include people of all people really, regardless of differing ability levels. So that's an extraordinary program that I really want to talk to you more about when it happens or when it gets closer in January. Rancho Bernardo High School student, this is my last thing, I promise. Rancho Bernardo High School student Rosie, and I missed her last name, but she was honored for her work as GSA Club co-president at the annual Gay Straight Alliance Awards. Rancho Bernardo High School has a very large club, by the way, 66 members there, and a very, very supportive faculty advisor in Mr. Meserle, who's last year's County Teacher of the Year. And that was a really fun celebratory event that was very different for me personally, but all the honorees, including Rosie, were speaking about growing acceptance on their school campuses. So just kind of to tie it all back in, our students, staff, and our community here in Poway Unified are doing great things all the time. So it's our job, all of us here, to make sure that that positive work is not disrupted for any reason. And that's going to conclude my report. I'll move down the row. Mr. Zane.
Thank you, Board President Connor Ratcliffe. My report will be very brief. I'm going to echo some of the comments that were stated earlier. First, as far as one activity of note, while some individuals here were running campaigns the past month, and congratulations to Board Member Beatty and Dr. Patel on their election to the board, Ms. Beatty found time to actually run a race at Jacko Smash. And she'll talk more about that. So while I was just coming out of REM sleep at the time, I arrived at the Jackal Smash, and she already had ribbons in hand and everything. And but congratulations to both of you. I look forward to working with you over the next 2 years. And Dr. Robertson, thank you very much for all of your work since April. And you know, I've never seen you happier than those 3 days. Thank you for everything that you've done. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Pretty hard to top the two previous board members. But I'd like you to look on the wall over here and you'll see two frames. That's the superintendent's administrative cabinet. Now, this is an example of how this district pulls together when it's time of need. And we haven't filled the other positions yet, but they have kept this district running with Mel Robertson at the head and kept everything flowing and continuing as if nothing changed in the administrative level. But I know Mel is working 24/7, and I'd like to throw my 2 cents and thank you very much for doing that, Mel. This is my last report as a board member. Ms. Patel, you're welcome to the seat. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our community, our staff, and our students for the success of PUSD, because that's what it's all about. That's how we keep going. Regardless of what happens, this district maintains the child and the student first. As long as we can keep the student first in our focus and do everything in our power to do that, let everything, all the other side things go by the wayside and just make sure that we take care of the kids. Because we have thousands of volunteers in our district, and it's the core of our success. It was my privilege to work with you on many projects. Our district has grown because we have put our students first in all our decisions. Over the years, that was a critical piece of info that united our school board and all the work we've done to support you. Our teachers, phenomenal. Our principals, outstanding, the best. And our support, classified people, go the extra mile to make us an astonishing district. It is with great pride and respect that I retire from the district and wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
We get to do it again next month, so.
Okay, I guess I have to share my awards from Jacko Smash. Just happen to have them with me. It was a great event. I think this is the third year, most successful, and it is a wonderful thing that's done for our community, for POVA, the Therapeutic Writing Academy, and our Abraxas Transitions Program and our Special Ed Foundation. These are the three worthy causes that the funds raised go to. So it's great to be a part of that. My 12th grader and I ran the 15K. I came in third in my division. He came in first. My husband ran the 5K. My husband's the volunteer cross-country coach at Black Mountain Middle School, and so he usually has a crew of middle schoolers there as well. And I also have some other great news that, and our student board member will be sharing, I'm sure, as well. We just got word this morning from Supervisor Dave Roberts' office that a community neighborhood grant of $6,000 was approved by the San Diego County Board of Supervisors for some hydration stations in our school district. And this effort was led by our own student board member, and with the support of Supervisor Roberts' office, they were able to make this come to fruition. So this is very exciting, and hopefully this is the beginning of some grant funds to get hydration stations in all of our schools. And lastly, I just wanted to congratulate Creekside Elementary for their distinction as a National Blue Ribbon School. This was our neighborhood school for 11 years, and one of the things that featured prominently in their application was the dedicated parent volunteers, and Creekside, like all of our schools throughout our district, flourish not only because of our great staff, but also our dedicated team of volunteers. And for those 11 years, I know my husband and I were in the classroom weekly, helping to support the classroom learning. So congratulations to Creekside. Thank you.
Well, I don't have a lot to say. Most of it's been taken already. I was not able to attend the Jacko Smash. I was in Sacramento completing my Master's in Governance curriculum. So it's true they'll pass anybody through there because I did graduate. So I'm pleased to have that behind me, and I hope to put it into earnest practice in the next 2 years. I do want to congratulate Ms. Beatty and Dr. Patel for their elections to the board. I want to echo the sentiments of Mel in that it takes a lot of courage to run for public office. Ms. Cooper is still here with us, and hopefully we'll continue to be involved in what we do. And it's not a fun thing. It can be exhilarating, and it certainly is eye-opening and educational, and you learn who your friends are. But it's not easy, and I commend everyone who sought this board's positions, because it is very much it does very much show you that you care about the kids in the schools in the district. So, but like everyone else, I woke up on Wednesday and found out the world had not come to an end. So we all go on, win or lose, and we try to put the kids first. So thank you very much, both of you, for running and for your efforts.
All right. Good evening. They're a very hard crowd to follow. They're all very eloquent, but I have a few things to share. I'm very honored to have been invited to serve on a panel at the California School Boards Association conference in early December, and it's focusing on student leadership. So I'm looking forward to represent Poway Unified and sharing some of the amazing things happening in our district. And just echoing what Ms. Beatty said, I'm really happy that the San Diego Board of Supervisors unanimously voted to approve the application, and I'm very excited to start this project, and I'm very thankful for the support I've gotten at my site level and the district level. And finally, something I just wanted to express. Something I love about my school and district is how engaged we are in our community and in the world around us. Students have thoughts, opinions, and ideas about what's happening in the world. However, it's no secret that our nation is currently very divided. I'd say that it's hard to be oblivious on most school sites. With the presidential election came an upsurgence of different perspectives, and afterwards it seemed to have left our nation more divided than before. But this is not a topic of Trump versus Clinton, Republican versus Democrats, red versus blue. This is one of us. This is one of unity. We don't need to agree on our ideological beliefs. Unity does not mean sacrificing our diverse views. Rather, it means respecting different perspectives and, nevertheless, ensuring that every student is able to thrive. No election should change this. What's most important is that our students feel safe at school. Every student in Poway Unified deserves to be respected and valued. Our values are those of peace, tolerance, and respect for multiple perspectives, and no election will ever change this. Thank you.
That concludes our board member reports, which takes us to public comments. This is agenda item C, so we'll start there. Clerk Patapow, are there any public comments?
Yes, we have one that we'll take at E204, and then the other, we have two others. Ian Williamson.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Ian Williamson, and I am here tonight as the president of the Choir Boosters Association at Westview High School, and also speaking on behalf of all of the allied arts programs at Westview. And I'd like to ask this board to address an item of concern in short-term and long-term issues in the theater at Westview High School. I'd like to ask the board to either put an item on an agenda for future action or request the staff to work with the site-level staff, the parents and the students that have concerns. Okay. The theater at Westview High School is not an appendage or a luxury. It is a classroom used every single day by something in the neighborhood of 300 students per day. That theater is used from an hour before school starts until about 9 o'clock 5 days a week, and there are multiple events every single weekend. It is a classroom just like any science or English or computer programming classroom on any campus in this district. It is unfortunately the only classroom that I know of on this district where the teachers need to ask the parents for money to change the lights. The theater building was not built according to its plans. It is impossible to safely change the lights in the first bank of lights, and the lights that light the stage also light the first half of the theater. To change those light bulbs, you have to rent a scissor lift, take the first row of seats out of the theater, and lift somebody up into the ceiling to change the lights. Staff won't do it. It's frequently done by students who get some special training. And every time in the last 5 years a light has blown out, that has been paid for by parents to replace. That's a situation that really shouldn't be what our parents are raising money for. And I'd ask that the board address that issue. The site staff has been fabulously supportive, but they don't have the budget. And the district staff says it's not their priority. So I'm here because it's my understanding that it's this board that sets both the budget and the priorities. So I think it is proper at this time for the board to address that issue. That's one key issue, and that's a short-term problem. It's been around for a long time. Everybody that's been in the theater knows that the problem with the catwalk from when the building was constructed. There's also a long-term solution that needs to be fixed. The roof also leaks, and that needs to be addressed. The site does not have funding to re-roof the building. The Band-Aids don't work. The last time it rained, the roof was caught by materials that were taken out of the prop room, and trash cans and buckets so that we didn't have mold. The water comes across the electricity races. It's not safe, and it needs to be addressed. Again, we ask that the board direct staff to address that issue. I'm happy to work with whoever it is, and so are all of the parent allied organizations.
If you'd like to submit a report to the board, we'd appreciate it. Thank you. Jeanette Latang.
Good evening, Dr. Robertson, Superintendent's Cabinet, and the School Board. First of all, on behalf of Jocelyn Scott, I would like to thank Dr. Robertson for her timely message to our POSD community this afternoon. We hope all POSD students find their school to be a safe and caring learning environment. Thank you. Also, thank you, Dr. Robertson, for all your service as Acting Superintendent. And congratulations to Ms. Beatty and Dr. Patel on your election to the POSD School Board. Tonight, I would like to address funding for virtual high school classes. Many of the students requesting these classes are performing arts students looking for options so they can keep their arts classes, or there also could be students making up credits or retaking a class for a better grade. I know that PUSD wants to offer educational options for every PUSD student. All PUSD students who want a virtual class should have that educational experience available to them, especially as our students may be required to take virtual classes in their college program. Experiencing a virtual class during high school is important so students can discover how to learn in this educational delivery method. Over the years, my children have taken full advantage of the wonderful performing arts program at Poway High School. I've got 4 kids. One's an aerospace engineer, one's a med school student, one is a senior studying music education. All of them were avid music performers. My son John is a junior at Poway High School, and if the 92064 magazine's going down, he's the male model on the front. And inside is an article about Poway's program. So you guys can take a look at those in your spare time. Anyway, he's in band, choir, marching band, in the musical, takes full advantage of the program. Music has been incredibly important to the overall education of our children, and I know music is a key component of my children's success in high school, college, and beyond. We've had a student at Poway High School almost every year since 2013. Over these years, it has gotten increasingly harder for my children to keep their music classes and take their core and AP classes they wanted and needed. I have witnessed students leaving the performing arts program because of scheduling conflicts. My youngest 2 children have gone outside of PUSD to get core classes since scheduling all the classes they needed were not possible at PHS, and alternative options were not available to them. This year, we were hopeful that our son would get into PUSD Virtual High School History 1 and 2. However, as of last week, he was number 13 of 20 on the wait list, and starting next week, he'll be taking that class outside of PUSD. For the 2017-18 school year, I ask that PUSD consider increasing funding to alternative education and the PUSD virtual classes so all demand for these classes is met and we can educate all PUSD students through PUSD class offerings. May you all have the opportunity to be in the audience for some awesome concerts as your reward for support of PUSD's performing arts students and PUSD virtual classes. Thank you.
Okay, and that concludes our public comment, so thank you very much. That takes us to our action items here. So starting with D101, ratification of stipulated agreements for student expulsion. Dr. Robertson.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight we bring forward to the board one stipulated agreement for the board's action.
Are there any questions?
Second.
All right, and a motion by Mr. Patapau, second by Mr. Zane. Are there any comments, any discussion? All right, seeing none, our student does not vote on this item, but for everyone else, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Item 201, salary schedules. Ms. Weisel.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Acting Superintendent Dr. Robertson. The item before the board is a recommendation to approve the salary schedules as presented. In collaboration with the Employer Account Management Division of CalPERS, the salary schedules were updated to reflect the required information of job classification, wage increases, time base, effective date, and date of revision for the audit period of 2013 to present. With approval by the board, the information will be submitted to CalPERS to satisfy the audit finding. Respectfully submitted.
Are there any questions for Ms. Weisel? Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
On a motion by Mr. Patapow, second by Mr. Zane. Any discussion? And this is personnel, so we'll leave Ms. Smith out again, but all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Thanks very much. D202, approval of the employment agreement for the interim superintendent. Ms. Huesa.
Thank you, Madam President. Staff recommends that the Board of Education approve the employment agreement between the Board of Education of the Poway Unified School District and the interim superintendent, Dr. Tony Apostle. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you very much. Any questions on this item? Ms. Beatty.
I'd like to propose an amendment, and this is number 6, hours worked. It limits it to 560 hours, and I think that's based on the California state retirement system. But my understanding is Dr. Apostle is from out of state, so that wouldn't apply, that limit. So my proposal would be that we just remove that clause from the contract and then approve it.
My only comment on that one is that I was thinking the same thing, but he has signed it as is already. Not that he couldn't sign an amended copy, but presumably he's also had some advice of counsel in looking at this and decided that that's not an issue. I wouldn't want to remove something that needs to be there either.
Well, why would, but it doesn't need to be there, I think. I think that's the issue, is because I don't know if we would like to bring up Dr. Apostle to address this.
Do you have anything to add to this discussion? I guess
like
that we can bring you on up. I'm just suggesting that he didn't have an issue with it when he signed it, so maybe we shouldn't worry about it. But if you'd like to address Ms. Beatty's question, welcome. I'll introduce you after we pass it, assuming we pass it. Otherwise, go home. Oh, no. Go ahead.
Yeah, Madam President, members of the board, and staff, and members of the audience, it's really exciting to be here this evening. As you would expect, the drive from the Seattle area to the San Diego area takes about 20 hours, and there's a lot of time to think about where you're going. And although we share the same West Coast in the state of Washington and Southern California, we have two very different climates that we have been exposed to. In the Seattle area, the October rainfall was the greatest in the history of recorded weather, the greatest amount of rainfall. And here I've arrived to a place where there's a drought. I was watching the news this morning, and the weather forecaster said that there's hope that there may be rain on Monday. I also tuned in to on the internet to the weather forecast in the Seattle area that they're hoping that there's possibly sunshine on Monday. So two very different climates, but it's great to be here. You have a wonderful community. I've spent some time with your acting superintendent, Tina. They've been very gracious and welcoming to me. In a large part, it's how they've responded to me, how they've received me, has made me really want to be here and spend time with you as an interim superintendent. Dr. Robertson said something the other day that took me aback, and I really have been thinking about it over and over. She said, Tony, we love this district. The staff loves this district, and so will you. And so I am waiting to fall in love with this district. And I'm excited about having my meetings scheduled with the board of directors. We're going to be visiting schools right away. I'm going to be meeting with the elementary and secondary principals this week. And so where I'm hitting the ground running, and I'm very excited about it. You have a great school district, and I'm glad to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm proposing we not that we remove the paragraph 6, which puts constraints on the number of hours. that you are allowed to work, and that's informed by the CalSTRS requirements for California State certificated retirees. And my proposal is that it be scrapped because it doesn't pertain to you because you're
I will not be a member of the retirement system, correct?
Right.
So it could
So
be,
it's
I'm fine with it being deleted.
Unnecessary constraint. So I would move to remove that one and then just redraft the contract and have that signed.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I move to strike number 6, hours of work, and redraft the contract to be signed by tomorrow for Dr. Apostle.
Second. I'd also add that, actually, I agree, the other benefit to striking number 6 is we, in previous iterations for different contracts, different individuals wanted to get away from being required to monitor the number of hours, and there it specifies that the board would be responsible for monitoring number of hours, so that just eliminates that issue altogether. So,
all right, so on a motion by Ms. Beatty and second by Mr. Zane, with that one amendment striking paragraph 6. And this is a personnel matter, but it seems to me one that affects our student board member. I'd like to give you your preferential vote on this one.
I'll vote in favor, thank you.
Thank you very much. And to the rest of the board members, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. So although I brought you up without actually introducing you, let me tell everyone else out there just a brief bio here. I'd like to introduce Dr. Tony Apostle. Starting tomorrow, he's our new interim superintendent to continue Dr. Robertson's work leading our district during our transition time here, presumably until February-ish. Dr. Apostle comes to us from Washington State, as you heard. He worked there as a teacher, coach, principal, administrator, and superintendent for 37 years before he retired in 2013. As you can see, he's quite energized, and even after a 20-hour drive, has a strong desire to meet as many staff, students, and families as possible, and help us identify what needs to happen in our district to maintain and improve the quality of education that we're offering here in Poway Unified. So on behalf of the board, we look forward to working with you, and welcome to Team PUSD. We'll work you too. Yeah, there you go. All right. Welcome. All right, slip of the tongue there. Okay. Thanks very much. Item D203 then. Ratify the Memorandum of Understanding between the Poway Unified School District and the Poway Federation of Teachers on the hourly salary schedule for career technical education and adult education certificated teachers. Ms. Hueso.
Thank you, Madam President. The recommendation before the board is to approve the hourly salary schedule for career technical education and adult education certificated employees. With the approval from the board, the hourly schedule for these certificate employees will be consistent with other educators currently on the salary schedule 1 of the collective bargaining agreement. Respectfully submitted.
All right, are there any questions for Ms. Hueso or a motion to approve?
Move to approve. Second.
All right, on a motion by Mr. Patapau, second by Mr. Zane. Is there any discussion of this item? All right. I'm thinking about a vote for our student board member. I'm sorry, this is not the...
Could we take 204 next?
Yes. This seems like this is probably not a student board member voting item, so I will take everyone else. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, this passes unanimously. Thank you. Item E204 was pulled by Ms. Beatty and also via a speaker slip. Approval of resolution number 20-2017 entitled Resolution Regarding the Elimination or Reduction in Hours of the Classified Positions as contained within Exhibit A, corresponding layoff of classified employees. Ms. Hueso.
Thank you, Madam President. With your permission, I would like to ask our Director of the Commission, Ms. Corey Amador, to come to the speaker's table to present this item to the board.
Welcome, Ms. Amador. And is it all right with Ms. Beatty if we have do you want to ask your question before, or
Yeah, it's just
Amador to
fine.
present?
Actually, I was doing it on behalf of the speaker, so I'll
okay.
defer to the speaker.
Just point of order. When should I call the speaker on this? Now, first, or second? First. Okay, Clerk Patapau, call the speaker on this item, please.
Lynette Turner.
Welcome.
Thank you. I apologize in advance. I'm recovering from a cold, so thank you very much for the opportunity, though, to speak to this item. I would appreciate always having an opportunity to have a reduction in hours or elimination of a position not put into a consent calendar agenda item, but rather be spoken to. Item E204 brings forward a reduction in hours of an instructional assistant, and the employee being reduced has been assigned to a special ed student as a one-on-one on a 3-hour contract. She has been consistently timesheeting extra hours, extra 3 hours, with the same student every day, presumably because the student's IEP requires 6 hours of support. The reduction is before you because the IA inadvertently forgot to take the 19th day off, which triggered the 20-day provision of the Ed Code and PSEA's agreement with the district. Several years back, PSEA filed a grievance against the district for this practice and won a substantial award of back compensation for the foregone health benefits as well as back pay for hours that should have been worked but were not. Approximately $850,000, if I recall. And last year, PSEA got the district to agree to convert many of these positions, approximately 30, to benefited positions with an eye towards phasing out this practice altogether. Even so, the district continues to contract for 3 hours and timesheet the remainder of the time needed for the student. The position in E204 is typical of many IA positions in our district, contracted for 3 hours with the remainder of the hours needed for the student, put on a timesheet simply to avoid paying health and welfare benefits to the employee. It is PSEA's position that this practice is bad for employees and bad for students. It is disrespectful to the instructional assistant who is often forced by financial circumstance to take the additional hours without the health and welfare benefits they deserve. It is also disruptive to students who frequently experience changes in their support structure, as instructional assistants must leave the moment they secure a worthwhile position. PSEA asks that you deny the reduction of hours for this position until research can be done to assess the actual need for this student. Further, we ask that you direct staff to investigate the practice of the 3+3 contract and provide PSEA and its employees and the community with an explanation of why this practice still occurs. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Ms. Amador.
Did you want to have your question? Was there a particular question in regards to the resolution?
No, I didn't have a question. I had pulled it on behalf of the speaker.
I have a question then. Could you clarify then? Ms. Turner said that, and I'm unclear whether she meant at the .66 current assignment, the IA is still timesheeting 3 hours in addition to that?
No, the IA triggered 20 consecutive days at increased hours back in September, which was verified through timesheets that were submitted to payroll. The IA then is retroactively made a 6-hour per day employee retroactively to that 20th day. So the IA doesn't continue to submit timesheets. She is a 6-hour a day employee entitled to full benefits. In this particular situation, there are 2 3-hour per day vacancies or assignments that were supported to that or provided to that classroom, as additional support. The instructional assistant was hired at the beginning of the school year into one of those vacancies. The other vacancy remains vacant. So while the district, or while the Personnel Commission, I should say, continue to recruit and to find a candidate to fill that vacancy, this individual was allowed the opportunity to timesheet and gain those additional hours on a timesheet. So it is beneficial to the individual to get those extra hours. It's also helpful to the classroom while we recruit and try to find someone to fill that vacancy. So it does provide some flexibility for the classroom. There are cases where a 6-hour position is most beneficial to the student, and that's determined by the IEP team when they meet and discuss the needs for the student. However, there are also situations like this one where additional support is needed in the classroom. It's not specific to a student. And so in that case, this was what was budgeted for, 2 3-hour vacancies. And unfortunately, this wasn't monitored, and so the individual was allowed to trigger that 20th consecutive day. So what has been requested is that the board approve reducing this position back to 3 hours per day due to lack of work, which is what's identified in the resolution and is within the board's purview. The employee then has an opportunity, because they have attained the 6 hours, the employee will be offered another 6-hour assignment. But this particular position would be returned to 3 hours per day, which goes back to what had been originally budgeted for.
Just to clarify what you said here then, for 3 hours, this is a one-on-one IA.
These are 2 additional positions that were provided to this classroom for support to that classrooms in that program.
So they are not specific to the one-on-one
And that was
aid.
verified again today with the special education department. This is not a one-on-one assignment. This is 2 additional 3-hour positions that were provided to the classroom as support.
Okay.
So what would happen is the position would go from 6 hours back to 3, which was what originally budgeted. The employee who triggered the 20th consecutive day and is entitled to those increase in hours, I will be meeting with that employee following the board's decision tonight. If the board were to approve the resolution, I will meet with the employee tomorrow, and it's my job then to facilitate the employee's move into another 6-hour position. So the employee is not negatively impacted by the board's decision tonight.
So how does that work then, that now we have 2 vacancies for 3 hours each for the same classroom, and that position is now vacant, and you haven't been able to fill the second 3-hour, which is why this employee was doing both.
Right.
So now it's vacant, but it's not a one-on-one position, but
It's
obviously they need a full-time aide in
They
that
need
classroom.
2 3-hour individuals, which allows flexibility for scheduling in the classroom with
So
with
would
their
they be
program.
overlapping at times if this
It's
was
possible.
2 employees?
It's possible. Remember that the special education department is responsible to provide the least restrictive environment for students. And so in that case, by having additional aides who can support and the students can move between different adults, they don't become responsive only to one particular adult. It's less disruptive for them if the adult is not there, as substitutes in place, etc. So it provides the flexibility needed in that classroom. In other cases, that's not what's needed. A student may need to have that aide basically shoulder to shoulder with them throughout the day. That is not the case in this particular classroom dynamic.
So the person in question isn't going to lose these 6 hours because you're going to find something
Correct.
comparable.
Correct.
Okay.
I actually have 2 vacant positions, so I have an opportunity to provide the employee with an option for the other position. If I didn't have a vacant position, the employee would have an opportunity to bump a less senior employee. In this case, we actually have vacancies, so it's not disruptive to another employee either.
What is the point? The current is .66, and then the proposed is .33. So what does that translate? That translates to 6 and 3 hours?
It back to 3, which was originally budgeted.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, so on a motion by Mr. Patapow and a second by Mr. Zane, it sounds like there might be some desire to continue talking about this at all. Any further discussion? Mr. Sellers? Oh, no. Okay. No? Okay. Sorry, we paused for a while there. I was just wanting to give everyone some time. Mr. Zane?
Despite the motion in a second, I do think, though, that Ms. Turner's comments toward the end of her comments are worthy of attention insofar as staff doing an analysis, and you'd have to restate the study or the analysis that you'd requested for us to ask of staff.
Yes, that 3 + 3 the time shading, I think that the board has spoken on that we don't want to see that. So if that's happening still, I think, speaking for myself, I would like to hear about why and how we can finish that off once and for all. I think this board was in agreement on that last year, that we don't want to see that happening. It's not good for our staff. It's definitely not good for our students. Any further comment then on this item? And thank you very much, I'll say for myself, for answering questions. I needed some clarification there, so thank you for providing that.
Certainly.
Any further comments or questions at this point? Okay, then, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And I'm sorry, I did not ask you down at the end there, Ms. Smith. I want to call you Ella, but I'm going to stick with Ms. Smith.
In favor, thank you.
Okay, so that does pass unanimously. Thank you very much for your time and for bringing that to our attention.
Welcome.
Item D301, approval of monthly budget revisions. Mr. Ozimzadeh, we haven't heard from you yet today.
Madam President and members of the board, I'm pleased to present to you the October revised budget. And we have made some changes again to the budget, trying to save some money. But there were some changes that they just happened. For example, when we got audited, they were telling us that the unduplicated count numbers were certified incorrectly and at no fault of the district, because of a glitch that existed in state software. And they admitted that, and they wanted actually to recertify, but the software did not allow them. So the unduplicated count was reported a little bit more than was supposed to be. It was 23.38%. It should have been 22.30. And that caused actually a reduction in the LCFF for the 2015-16, and then following 2016-17, since we're assuming the same number of unduplicated counts at this time, so we would have to reduce also the 2016-17 too. So we had to cut $148,926 from 2015-16 revenues, and then from 2016-17, $376,563. On top of that, then we received a little bit more revenue on lottery for prior year, $160,098, unrestricted and restricted $218,857. And then update on the California CT incentive grant caused a restricted amount of $455,467, and update just the minor local revenues, another extra $3,000. So overall, we increased the revenues by $383,621. On the expenditure side, teacher professional learning and effectiveness system, we added $144,000 to expenditures. Then we cut the expenditures on the supplemental because of the LCFF, the same amount that we had cut the revenues, $148,926 and $376,563 respectively. And then prior year lottery, we added to the expenses $218,857,000, but we did not add to the expenditures for the unrestricted because we have a choice at least to have some savings. Update on California CT incentive grant, again, we added the expenditures $455,467. And update the local revenue $3,000. You approved financing the RCS lease payments, so $220,848,000 would be the expenditure for that. And update costs for regional communication system, actually we had budgeted more before, but we had a savings, so $330,020 we saved. We did not spend that much. So altogether, changes in expenditures, 188,000 and 358,000 added. But since we had the loan proceeds from the RCS, $1,075,000, the deficit that we had last month was $17,649,514. It was reduced to $16,379,251. So we reduced the deficit by $1,270,263, and $263, which is a good news for projection later on.
2 months in a row. I like it.
Yeah.
We say keep that going.
Also, what we did was we, instead of having no cuts in 2017-18 and having all cuts in 2018-19, which would have been around $30 million, we recommend that we would have 2017-18 $10 million and $10 million in 2018-19. So altogether would be only $20 million instead of $30 million. Also, I have some latest news from SSC regarding the Prop 55. And of course, we cannot use that for the interim report yet, but later on next year, after the governor's budget, hopefully we hope that some more money comes. It would be, in the year 18-19, it would be about $200 per ADA. So Poway would get $7 million, hopefully, extra revenues. And in 18, and in 19-20, it would be $400 per ADA. So we would get $14 million. So this is very good news right now, but we cannot spend it.
Yet.
So with these changes, I recommend that you approve the budget as presented to you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Azimzadeh? Ms. Beatty.
I know Ms. O'Connor Radcliffe and Mr. Zane had requested the $10 million in cuts. Was that for this year or for next year to start itemizing?
Next year,
$10 million.
and I kind of mentioned that in an offhand way. I don't think that was board direction, but it's nice to see what it would look like.
The 10, okay. So, and my other question is, well, I want to focus on the deficit going forward. In 18-19, under expenditures, the differential, there's 286. It looks like the proposed reductions would have to be 20 million, twice that amount that's listed that year. Assuming we do 10 million in cuts next year, then 17-18 and 18-19, it looks like the math should be 20 million there instead of 10 million.
Okay, the reason for that is that when you cut in 2017-18, then for the following year, that cut also carries because you would cut like the ongoing costs. Therefore, you only need another extra 10 million. And you have already cut it 10 million, so that cut carries. Because when we do the budget, we project the same amount of expenditures for the following year, assuming that everything is the same, but since it would be a cut, then that cut is not going to be actually those part of the expenditures is going to be removed from the following year.
Although that's also the year that you said we may be seeing some Prop 55.
Well, right now, no. We
7 million
okay, so
eventually.
Sure, but we have not included Prop 55 here at all.
Eventually. I'm
Yeah.
just excited. That's right. Jumping the gun a little bit, but.
If I say that I've included that, then Joy would kill me.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any further questions for Mr. Azimzadeh? And if not, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Right, on a motion by Ms. Beatty, second by Mr. Sellers. Any further discussion before we move to the vote? And with that, then, I will move to our student member preferential vote.
In favor, thank you.
That's one aye, and everyone else, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That is 6-0. Thank you very much. Item E302 was pulled by Mr. Sellers. This is approval ratification of contractual services report number 04-2017. Mr. Azimzadeh.
Recommendation that attached contractual services report be approved and or ratified.
I have a question regarding item number 4. We're allocating $25,000 to the law firm of Adams, Silva, and McNally. I assume this is the law firm that Rick Silva left to found.
Yeah, I mentioned this last month.
And so the problem is that they haven't gone, it's a brand new law firm, and they haven't gone through an RFQ as all the other law firms have. So do they have some ongoing legal work that we need to pay them $25,000 for? Or are they taking work from Lozano Smith that we need to continue funding? Or
I'd like to let Dr. Robertson take that.
We have no ongoing work at all. This is a completely new firm. So when we had approved to work with Lozano Smith, I got to remember all these names, Rick Silva was one of the people that we had worked with and had done a lot, actually quite a bit of work with us. And so we developed a relationship that, like his philosophy, he's pretty even-keeled around how he looks at different things, and thought that maybe we could try and do some work with this particular firm as he opened it up. We didn't know that he was going to do that, and so he just shared that with us. So you're absolutely right about the RFQ. It was really around developing this relationship and continuing to look at the work that they're doing.
one of the reasons it concerns me is because, I've been trying to separate ourselves from Artiano Shinoff for quite some time now, and we have to keep paying them because they have these ongoing cases that I'm told can't be shifted to another firm. And so here we have a firm that doesn't even have any ongoing cases, and we're going to go ahead and allocate them resources without an RFQ. So I'm not really comfortable doing that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I guess I have to agree. I think as a public agency, it's important we go through for any company we're going to give a contract to, that we have an open and public process. If we're going to invite one new firm, we should open it up to any firms that would like to submit an application, go through the vetting process, make sure they meet minimum specifications for our requirements. It's not clear, I guess this is for general counsel work.
It would be.
So I would say we should do this properly and open it up. If we want to do a new RFQ, let's do that, and then do this according to board policy. So I would move to pull item number 4 from the contractual services report in order to redo the process.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Ms. Beatty and a second by Mr. Zane to pull number 4. And I'd like to speak to that I feel strongly that we have an existing relationship with Mr. Silva, and I know that many of you have not worked with him, but as board president, I have worked with him directly and do appreciate the advice he's given on. And currently, we don't have someone that we can just call up when we have a question about, can we do this in closed session? Can we do this in open session? How do we agendize this? He was that person. And when he left, we have not had the ability to give him a call in over a month now. And I personally miss that advice. I want to make sure we're not doing anything that we shouldn't be doing. I valued the relationship that I had developed with him, and I think Dr. Robertson also had worked with him directly on similar issues. So I would oppose this motion. Is there any other discussion, though, before we take a vote on it? Mr. Zane.
I don't discount that whatsoever. I agree with you. I'm confident that he'll probably be back and servicing us soon, hopefully. But in the interest of process, though, I think that it's appropriate to make him go through the same hoops as everybody else.
Okay, I would point out that he did submit all the same information, and they are a good deal, a better deal than the other firms, in fact, and I'm sure that's to get their foot in the door here. But All right, if we're done with
I
the
have no
discussion.
doubt. I believe you.
Okay.
And I think that they'll be coming back, but we'll do it right.
All right, so I'm sorry, Mr. Padua, did you have anything there? No. Oh, yes.
No, I like to support the recommendations of the state. You've been working with them, and Mel's been working with them, and I have complete confidence. If you say that it's a necessary thing that you continue with that, I'd support you.
Okay, at this point, we do have a motion and a second to remove item number 4 from the contractual services report. So we should vote on that at this time. All in favor of removing item number 4 from the contractual services report, say aye.
Aye.
And that is and I'm sorry, I should have asked our student board member.
Aye.
Okay, so with a preferential vote, Ms. Smith, and the ayes were Mr. Sellers, Ms. Beatty, and Mr. Zane, and noes? No. And voting no, Mr. Patapow and Ms. O'Connor-Ratcliffe. So item 4 is removed from the contractual services report. Are there any other items anyone wishes to talk about on the report? Okay, with that then, I'd entertain a motion to approve the remainder of the contractual services report without item 4.
So moved.
Second.
Tie goes to...
I don't care.
Tie goes to Beatty. Okay, she just won an election. So on a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Ms. Beatty, all in favor of contractual services report without item 4, say aye. Aye. And I forgot again, Ms. Smith is saying aye as well for the preferential vote. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. I just want to make a note so I make sure that we let him know that he needs to submit in an RFP like everybody else.
Well, I think we would open up the process. I mean, if it needs to be an open and public process, so I think we do an RFQ for whoever wants to submit and redo the process that was done last fall.
All right, and I'm hearing Dr. Robertson say she's got it. I will trust that she has got that. All right, so we'll move it along. Item E304. And I pulled this one. So this is award a contract for bid number 2016-05B, Trash and Recycling Services to Republic Services, Inc. Mr. Azimzadeh.
Recommendation that the board award the contract for bid number 2016-5 for trash and recycling services to Republic Services Incorporated. Total monthly bid will be $60,490.
So I just, the reason I pulled this, I want to thank you, Mr. Azimzadeh, and your staff for gathering all the information I requested on this item at last month's meeting. I will support this contract because we do seem to be in the ballpark of other districts' contracts, but the reason I pulled this item is because I do want to point out to the rest of the board here and to staff here that what makes our contract unique from other districts is that if Poway Unified is able to increase our recycling so that there's less trash, it can be picked up less frequently, and we're going to save money for the district. So I would like to see that happen. Saying we have a recycling program and putting our blue containers in classrooms and sprinkled around campuses is not enough. We need to educate our students and our staff on how they can participate fully in that recycling and teach them why it's important, and not only that it's going to save the district money, but there's curriculum now, approved California standards on environmental curriculum. I'll just leave it at that. So maybe this looks like an assembly at every school site, but this needs to happen. I was looking around. The County Office of Education offers free recycling assemblies, for instance. I know Republic Services, who we're about to approve here in a minute, offers some help on this as well. So I think we just have to ask them, and I would ask that our board make this a priority and ask staff to prioritize this a little bit too. So it'll save us on our bottom line, and it's part of our curriculum anyway.
There's some exciting programs at other school districts I learned that have zero waste programs. I mean, it's usually done at school site by school site, but I've learned about those around the county. Yeah, yeah. So other schools, maybe we could just sort of partner with other schools and bring them into those assemblies that you were talking about.
Yeah, Mr. Sellers, did you have something as well?
I couldn't agree more, Madam President. I consider recycling to be a moral imperative. My license plate says recycler on it. And so I couldn't agree more. I think anything that it's a win-win situation. Anything we can do to increase the rate of recycling, I think should be mandatory, short of imprisonment for people who don't comply.
So I'm thinking we do have a board consensus here that we would like to prioritize additional recycle programs, assemblies, information at our schools to not only decrease our recycling costs or our trash services costs, but also so that Mr. Sellers doesn't throw anyone in jail. And I guess then, if no one has anything else, I'd make a motion to approve this item.
I just wanted to add, you had mentioned Republic does offer programs, and that comes with this contract. I'd be interested at some point down the line just to know what they offer.
I would suggest that you get in touch with, and Ms. Smith, you may know, there's a great club at Westview. What's the name of the club? ABE, the club at Westview, is extremely active, and they've made a really good connection with Republic. Maybe get in touch with that club president. They're very...
Or Republic could give us information about what they offer.
And their public relations person was great. I think they would do that. So again, I'll repeat that with that motion to approve this item.
Second.
All right, on a motion by O'Connor Ratcliffe, second by Zane. Any further discussion on this item? All right. To our student board member.
Aye.
All right. Preferential vote is aye. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. That passes unanimously, 6-0. Thank you again, Mr. Azimzadeh. Oh, and we've got another one here. D501. Long title here. Approval of resolution number 21-2017 entitled Authorizing and Providing for the Issuance of Special Tax Refunding Bonds of Poway Unified School District Community Facilities Districts numbers 6 and 10. Approving the form of separate bond indentures for each series of special tax refunding bonds, the form of a first supplemental indenture for each series, for each series of special tax refunding bonds to be refunded, special tax refunding bond purchase contract, bond purchase agreement, preliminary official statement, funding allocation agreement, and other documents, and authorizing certain actions in connection with the issuance of such bonds. Mr. Azimzadeh.
Oh, you mentioned, Madam President, everything.
Oh,
Thank
great.
Series 2017A Public Financing Authority Special Tax Revenue Refunding Bonds, CFD numbers 6A, 10A, and 10B previously presented to the board on September 13, 2016. Tonight we're bringing forward for the board's approval the legal documents for this series. We anticipate going to the municipal market in early January 2017. This refinancing continues to exceed the savings levels identified in the district's board policy 6.37 of $100,000 annual savings, of 3% net present value savings on current refunding, and $1 million total net present value savings. We will not be extending the term of the bonds. They simply allow the district to lower its interest payments. It is the district's best interest to move forward with the financing at this time. So recommendation that resolution number 21-2017 with respect to the proposed issuance of a special tax refunding bonds by Community Facilities District number 6 and 10 be approved.
Thank you. Are there questions? Okay.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Patapow, second by Mr. Zane. Any discussion at this point? Ms. Beatty.
Was there a presentation on this one? This was...
I think it was August. You said September.
September 13.
Oh,
that's when the PowerPoint presentation was on this one? So can you just review the numbers, the savings numbers, because for the $34 million?
I have the net present value savings in front of me. I have net present value savings
It wasn't on the shared drive.
Was 14.89%, and that was equivalent to approximately 4.5 million net present value savings. Ms. Burgoyne.
Good evening. I can give you an update on those numbers.
All right.
Can we get the whole PowerPoint again?
Yes, you may. Let me have it, pull it out here. Here you go. You're correct, Ms. O'Connor-Moore, Radcliffe. In August, September, it was 15.46% savings with a net present value of about $4.6 million and an annual savings of about $358,000. Unfortunately, on October 31st, we are now looking at 10.47% savings, a loss of about 5%, net present value of approximately $3.1 million, and about $260,000 in annual savings.
We're still within the zone of our board.
We're way ahead of the thing, but we've lost 5%.
Gotta move faster.
I'm only one person.
I appreciate that, yes. Any other? Ms.
Thank
Baker?
you. That's all.
No? All right, then, is there a motion to approve? Oh, I'm sorry, and it was a motion by Mr. Patapow and a second by Mr. Zane. If there's no further discussion, I will go to our student board member first.
Can I abstain, please?
You sure may, yes. And for everyone else, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, so that's, sorry, Patapow, Zane, O'Connor, Ratcliffe, aye. Sellers, Beatty, no. And Ms. Smith's preferential vote is to abstain on that one. Note. Okay, so that does pass by a vote of 3-2. Thank you. And at this time, we need to adjourn our regular board meeting briefly to open up the Poway Unified School District Public Financing Authority. It's a good time to stretch or use the restroom. We'll be here in 5 minutes again, back or less, maybe 2 minutes. So at this time, I'll adjourn us briefly here. Do I adjourn us or put us in recess? Okay, adjourn us at 7:50. And I'll bring us back now at 7:50 for the Poway Unified School District Public Financing Authority to come to order. This is item L1, approval of resolution number 22-2017 entitled Authorizing and Providing for the Issuance of Special Tax Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2017A, approving the form of an indenture of trust, the form of an escrow deposit and trust agreement, bond purchase agreement, special tax refunding bond purchase contract, funding allocation agreement, preliminary official statement, continuing disclosure agreement, and other documents, and authorizing certain actions in connection with the issuance of such bonds. Mr. Zimzadeh.
Well, since I'm the treasurer, I don't know if I should I say that? Okay, so I recommend approval of the resolution. It's the first time I'm having this.
No.
It's a joy and an honor to have you here as our treasurer tonight. And this does mirror the item that the board just approved. So just so I've got it, executive director is
Dr. Robertson.
Dr. Robertson, okay. And then chairperson, vice chair, clerk, and treasurer. Okay, so we are the voting members on this. Any questions for our treasurer on this item? Okay, then I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, so on a motion by Vice Chairperson Zane, Clerk Patapow, second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. At this time, then, I will adjourn the Public Unified School District Public Financing Authority at, let's see, 7:52. And we'll take a brief recess before we come back to our regular board meeting. Thanks. Okay, the regular meeting is back in session here at 8:01. F207, proposed 2017-18 student attendance calendar, first reading. Ms. Hueso.
Thank you, Madam President. For the board's first reading, we are proposing the 2017-18 student attendance calendar. Again, I do indicate that it is a first reading. The document was prepared in collaboration with the district-wide calendar committee that is composed by different members of the different associations, the unrepresented group, management. So for your consideration in terms of a first reading, we are presenting the item to you. Additionally, please note that there's going to be a separate item with regards to calendar specific to Valley Elementary and Abraxas Continuation School at a future board meeting.
Any questions on the calendar? I'll comment I'm not crazy about the winter break dates, but that's all I'll mention. All right, if we're ready to move on. Okay, G310, Internal Control Audit Services for the Poway Unified School District. Mr. Azimzadeh.
Yes, Madam President and members of the board, at the October meeting, the board was presented the internal audit proposals from 4 auditors. The board directed the administration to obtain proposals from Vicente Lloyd Stutzman and a modified estimated cost without payroll from Moss Adams. The estimated costs from these 2 audit firms are presented for the board's review and direction.
And if I recall, Mr. Sellers requested we add Vicente Lloyd Stutzman, and what do you think?
Yeah, first off, yowza. That's a really steep number. You mentioned that Moss Adams didn't include payroll, and the other firms that we were comparing them to did include payroll. But even if you put payroll in here, that adds maybe another $10,000 or $15,000 to it. It doesn't.
But they did not really reduce it that much when I asked them to take out payroll and give us a new estimate. So they gave me a little bit lower estimate, but it wasn't that much lower that we anticipated.
Okay. Well, and obviously we would engage them to do payroll because that's the biggest piece of our internal controls. So I'm certainly happy with the procurement process. I think we've gone out and gotten enough bids. So now I think it's a question of the board has to decide, do they want to go forward with this process, and if so, when and using what criterion. But I'm very happy with the bids that you've gone out and gotten. And Moss Adams is an excellent firm.
I'd like to speak to that because I feel like we're between a rock and a hard place, and I almost want to consider possibly going out for another bid or discussing a viable alternative. Vicente, reading the proposals that each submitted, Vicente's was impressive. Clearly, they know a lot because they already did the first the first audit, but it's too pricey. And Moss Adams didn't, it seemed like their proposal was just too general, and it didn't win me over in reading their proposal that they were going to come up with real actionable information. It almost seemed, and I could be wrong, but it seemed like we'd end up with a product where we would still need to perhaps drill down deeper. So I don't know if we want, I just was thinking maybe we wanted to have a board discussion. I know we've brought up an audit committee, we've brought up hiring an internal auditor. I was thinking about this in terms of what happened with the classified union's request for a classified study, and a classification study rather. And I think around $70,000 was put forward to do a classification study that then was subsequently scrapped in favor of hiring an employee who would do that as an ongoing process. So I'd like to open it up to discussion to see if anyone has any thoughts about maybe going back to the drawing board on this, thinking instead of this we move towards hiring an internal auditor or a committee or some combination of both. I'd be okay with maybe the Moss audit plus moving forward with the internal auditor. or if there's any thought to, I mean, I guess we've already done the bid. I don't know if a second one is going to bring any other proposals. So I don't know if anybody, that's my thoughts. Okay.
I think that we have to make sure we don't put the cart before the horse here, and the internal control audit or study has to come first, because one of the recommendations that may very well come out of that is that we need an internal auditor, and that's a part of it. I read the information that Mr. Azimzadeh provided regarding both the internal audit position and the audit committee recommendations. I think they're both very good starting points, and particularly I like the one from Eastside High School District. I thought their audit committee language was pretty darn good. And so I think that we have to start with the internal control audit first. And I do think it's something we should do. It's not something that we're going to decide to do tonight. But I think that as a general rule, something like an internal controls audit is relatively generic. My hope was that VLS would be able to use some of their, having already invented the wheel, to do it more competitively. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I don't know exactly what they were planning to do for $217,000, but
if I may, they were proposing 1,800 hours, and then they asked me some questions. They turned around and added another 30 hours.
30 hours.
Yes.
Wow, that's basically one staff person for a year.
Yes.
Wow, that's so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they were planning on auditing the ERP system as well, or what exactly it was, but clearly that's not what we're looking for. So I think the first thing the board has to decide is we have some, we can revisit the proposals that have come through. I think we probably have enough. I think we just have to make the first decision is this something we want to do? I think the fees that are proposed, aside from VLSs, are things that we can afford based upon what we're going to get out of it. I think we just have to decide as a board if we want to go forward. But I think you have to do that before you entertain the question of, do you hire an internal auditor?
What are your feelings on these two firms? I mean, what are your feelings on that price? Will that get us started in the right direction?
Well, I know Moss Adams. I have worked with them previously, and they are a very, very good firm. And they have done the audits for Mission Federal Credit Union, and they have been coming back for actually the third year. And then they had done a lot of other government agencies, a lot of cities, and nonprofit organizations. So I know that they're very good, but I do not know Lloyd because I have not had any actually.
But are they flexible enough to meet our direction?
I'm pretty sure they're both very good, audit firms.
Because we get started with them, then we can be flexible, add additional things to them, and maybe even something like Charlie says with the internal position. With their recommendation, we could build something that would meet our needs personally.
Sure, with the recommendation of the internal audit, I mean, they could recommend after they see that, and they could recommend that. So it doesn't cost them anything but just recommending, that you need to have an internal audit.
Yeah, right. Might as well get it.
I mean, I provided the information for internal auditors, some of the other school districts that have had. They have been very successful in doing that. Even like a small district relative to Poway, like La Mesa, has an internal auditor. They've had it for years, quite a few years, and they do a great job, and they really help the board. So the board doesn't have to ask a lot of questions and a lot of everything, because they do actually those, which is nice. Yeah. That's how I feel. Of course, I won't be here that long, but
you always talk about when you're leaving.
No, I mean, I just tell the truth.
We're not letting you go yet, Mr. Zane.
Not if he saves us $1 million more every month, he comes back to the meeting.
I know, every time.
On the whole, I actually agree with Trustee Seller's outline as far as the process. I believe that this is something that we ought to do. I think that the price tag is reasonable as far as Moss Adams is concerned. I know of their reputation as well. I'm sure in a much more limited sense. But I'd also layer on top of what Trustee Sellers said that I think it's also important that if we get to a point where we decide that maybe we want to hire somebody on as a full-time auditor, we also take that into consideration in tandem with the full-time CBO and them coming on board. I'd like to see some working together in the audit process and then any potential hire in the auditor position, internal auditor position with a new CBO and not get too far ahead before we have the new CBO in place.
I wanted to add that seeing VLS's bid here kind of made my eyes pop, which is interesting because Moss Adams' bid made my eyes pop last month compared to the others. Although I did think that theirs was the most thorough, and I think Mr. Sellers is the one who said it wasn't that thorough compared to VLS. But I did find their proposal to be more thorough than the ones that were less expensive, and it seems that there's some agreement here that the quality may be the reason for that extra expense. And compared to VLS, suddenly Moss Adams doesn't look that expensive after all. And I do agree that that's necessary. We should do it. Maybe Moss Adams is the company to do it. I think VLS is out for me. That's just outrageously priced for me.
Yeah, I think part of built into Moss Adams' fee is there's a certain brand name price that you're paying. You're buying a Cadillac as opposed to a Hyundai. And doesn't mean a Hyundai is not premiumly engineered by our friends in Korea, but well, that was my consideration, which is that I thought we'd get less reinventing of the wheel that way, and that's not the case. And so, I think when you hire Moss Adams, you're hiring a name brand firm. They're very, very large on the West Coast, and I think they probably would do a very good job.
And I ask you, Mr. Sellers, though, you just said our Hyundai is going to run just as well. Did you like some of those other bids? I mean, I will say that you probably know more about this than anyone else on the board, at least.
I thought some of them were ridiculously low. I question, how much testing and how thorough they'll be for that fee. And I think that, this is, like I said, this isn't brain surgery testing your internal controls. It's very labor intensive. And like I said, the number of hours, you could have one staff person for a year. You could probably test it multiple times for that many hours. So I don't think it's an outrageous price because I thought the others were actually too low. And like I said, you're part of, like anything else, part of what you're buying is reputation. I know that when the city went out to have its internal controls audited, the city of San Diego, they considered some Big Four firms because they thought the name would connote a greater level of confidence to their citizens. They essentially decided to go another direction, but I think that holds the case here as well, which is that we've had a problem with our internal controls. We're not doing this just as a sort of an exercise. And I think it is important that we have a reputable, known firm put their name on the opinion.
So I'd love to summarize what we're saying here. It seems that between what Mr. Sellers is saying and what Mr. Azimzadeh is saying, that we would do well with Moss Adams if we are comfortable doing this, and it sounds like everyone thinks that we need to do this, and that maybe an internal auditor comes a little bit later, but our first step is to do this internal audit probably with Moss Adams. Are we comfortable asking for that to come back next month for a voting item?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that is the board's direction on this one, and I'd like to move on if we're ready. Okay, let's go. G311, our enrollment report. Enrollment report number 2, 2016-17. Mr. Azimzadeh.
The second month enrollment report for period ending October 7, 2016 is presented for the board's review. The district's total enrollment was 35,915 and had a net gain of 42 students over month 1 of this year. An average daily attendance was 97.65%.
Not bad. We can do better.
Of course.
Come on. Nobody gets sick.
Why not?
Any questions? No. All right, great. G312, Annual report for fiscal year 2015-16 required for the collection of statutory Level 1 and alternative Level 2 and Level 3 school fees pursuant to Government Code Sections 66001 and 66006. Mr. Azinzadeh.
The annual report of reporters' school fees for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2016 is presented for the board's review.
Any questions on this item? Ms. Burgoyne's dying to come back up. No? Oh, you can stay. You can stay. All right. G313, annual investment policy review and quarterly disclosure of local agency investments for Poway Unified School District. Mr. Azinzadeh.
Administration presents district investments for the quarter ending September 30th, 2016, together with its investment policy for the board review.
Any questions on this item? All right, looking good. G503, annual investment policy review and quarterly disclosure of local agency investments for community facilities districts numbers 1 through 16. Mr. Azinzadeh.
Community Facilities District numbers 1 through 16 quarterly investments and their investment policy are presented for the board's review.
And any questions or comments on this? That brings us to item H, new business board members. And H1 is discussion, Financial Crisis and Management Assistance Team, FICMAT review for special education. I did request this one. Okay, so I'll go ahead and tell you why I asked for this to be on the agenda. As it says here, FICMAT stands for Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team. It's an independent, external state agency, whatever that means. It's a state agency of a sort, whose mission is, quote, to provide proactive and preventative fiscal, business, and management services that help local educational agencies comply with the fiscal accountability standards and incorporate best practices, unquote. So although they do a lot of different types of reviews, in the past 2 years, FICMAT has done special education reviews for 12 districts in California, including locally San Diego, Escondido, Sweetwater, and Coronado, just in the past couple years. All of those reports that they do are posted on their website. All of them, when you start to review them, reveal really helpful information about their special education programs in those districts, and really, most importantly, ways to implement some improvement, ideas for improvements, and possible ways to implement those improvements. I think this is a prudent thing for Poway Unified to do to help us stay proactive in maintaining our best practices fiscally and managerially, not to mention with our educational programs and our student services in this very, very expensive area in our district budget. In talking with our special education department leadership last month, and they still here, yes, there they are. I know they're open to this. They actually mentioned the San Diego one to me. They're aware of that one. We haven't done anything like this in many years, so it's time. And I'm hoping tonight the board will agree to direct staff to bring back a contract proposal for FICMAT to do this work in our district. And I know that in anticipation of this direction, possibly from speaking with our special education directors, or me, or both, Dr. Robertson has some information to share, so I'd like to turn it over to her briefly.
Briefly, okay. Just there's been interest in this, and I know Ms. Beatty's also sent some information, and also with President O'Connor Radcliffe. So we actually went ahead and solicited a contracting cost. So we actually have that on hand, but we're going to wait for the board's direction on that before we move on anything. Did you want to say a couple things, Cameron?
We received a proposal from FICMAT, and they have actually, in the scope of a study that they have proposed, there are 11 actually functions that they are going to carry out for us. And for the cost would be not to exceed $41,000. So.
I know that Mr. Purvis does work as a contractor with FICMAT on transportation issues, and he was familiar with this particular proposal that our district has received. I haven't had a chance to go over it in detail, but I'm hoping that we'll get this and put it on our agenda next month, and hopefully approve it. So if any thoughts from the board, I would love for us to direct that this go on there for next month.
I have a question. We didn't, not that long ago, we issued a consultancy report. So when was that? What was the cost? And where I mean, that was basically this. That was reviewing our special ed program, seeing how we could do it better, maybe save money as well, or reduce escalating costs.
Yeah, so if I may respond to that. The proposal that we have is much more in depth. When we did our process with SSC, I want to say that was at about maybe 20,000. I can't remember. We brought a team in. What we had done is we had identified 4 places in the budget that were increasing exponentially. And so what we did is we studied those and we looked for cost reductions. One of the ones we looked at was centralizing our speech services for preschool, and we have made some of those reductions. Some of the other pieces are larger changes in the system, and we are continuing to work with that. So what would happen is the recommendations that we have there, they are not lost. They would dovetail with, if we were to move forward with this study around reducing costs and our practices, they would go together.
So just a quick follow-up on that then. If we do decide to move forward with a consultancy study, shouldn't we, just like we had discussed with the law firms, do an RFQ and solicit bids in order to make this an open public process, instead of just doing a sole source contract? What would be the reason to do a sole source contract to FigMat? Or is it because they're the only game in town, so to speak? They're the only ones who provide this kind of service? Because otherwise we should see what else is out there and make it a public process if we're going to be spending $40,000+.
I can't answer if there are other things, so maybe someone else can. I'm just really familiar with the work the FICMAT does, and they've been doing a lot of this work recently with other districts. And I've actually been talking to my counterparts in other districts around what are some of the changes you've been making in order to reduce costs. So, Cameron, do you have other thoughts?
To the best of my knowledge, there are not any other special education consultants that are as good as FICMAT.
Is this unique?
Yes, School Service of California is also doing that too, but not to the extent and the detail of the FICMAT. And FICMAT does not just special education, they do in other areas of finance also consult.
Yeah, because I think what they're most known for is when schools are in financial distress, then they swoop in and do their thing.
State of California is in contact with them all the time, and they go to school districts very often. Yes, and we have actually a very good member of FICMAT sitting right here, and he,
Shall we invite him up?
Just to your comment,
so he could actually explain it to us.
FICMAT's website says that only 10% of their work is directed by the state for them to swoop in, as you put it. Only 10%. So the other 90% districts are requesting that they come in to look over what they're doing and look for those efficiencies and preventative and proactive.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, how are you? Good evening, members of the board. A little bit about FICMAC. In 1992, after the, some of us are old enough to know, the Richmond Unified School District kind of had to remake itself. The state of California found themselves in a situation of having to loan a school district money because they went bankrupt, can't really close your doors. So as a result of that, the state legislature became a little agitated with the Department of Education. So through Assembly Bill 1249, they created the Fiscal Crisis Management Assistance Team. And then in 1994, they augmented that legislative directive and created management assistance at the end of that. So what FICMAC really wants to do is intervene upon invite of a county office or a school district by invitation to do business assessment studies in all areas of non-curriculum, to include those special education, because it's been such a high cost area needing contribution by the general fund. to help districts, not that special ed would lead us there, but to help districts avoid financial crisis. So yes, the kind of the negative side of how FCMAC is known is when you get yourself upside down physically, county office directs them to come in and they kind of overtake the finances of the board. That is not what this is about, though. It's management assistance. So I've had the pleasure to work with them for since 1994, specializing in transportation, but we're often paired in the last 10 years with special education because transportation, like special ed, we have such a large encroachment into the general fund, so often we're a few scope points within special ed. Mr. Zimzadeh allowed me the opportunity to have active involvement in helping create those scope points. So those were hand-drawn by myself and the team we work with. Those are very extensive and include a full scope review of our special ed services to help us know how we compare and like districts throughout the state of California, but yet recognizing the unique needs of the Poway Unified School District, because no two stories are the same. I do want to comment on the cost. I can't state specifically that there's not private consultants out there, because there is for everything, but I'll tell you this, you're subsidized by the state of California, the state legislature, for this study. So I would gander a guess, if you find them, you won't find one with this breadth of scope for this price. And I'd stake my reputation on that, because we're up and down the state. There's about 30 or so assessments a year, and I'd say 10% of those, high-end maybe, are for special education.
Can I just add to that? I found 12 on their website just in the past 2 years for special education. These are the full reports. If you're wondering what their product looks like, go check them out. Just scan it and see if, I think you'll agree that that would be very beneficial to plug in Poway Unified specifics into that and see what they tell us. It's hard to compare ourselves with another district because other districts aren't necessarily giving of their data freely in their whole special education plan, but this FCMAT knows because they're out there reviewing all of them.
They, in all areas of business and special ed, they're using practitioners in the field, hence my involvement for transportation. So they're not folks removed from the program years past or necessarily retirees, although those could be some of the consultants in some cases. But they offer a very good process. If you've had the opportunity to look at the reports, they're very clear. They're written very well. They're factually based. We use the rule of 3 when investigating, and there's clear, concise, specific recommendations based on hard criteria and comparison across the state. And they validate a lot of the good stuff any organization does, and I'm sure that would be found here as well.
Probably mostly, I'm going to go out on a limb, but there are a few things undoubtedly that'll be good for us to know.
Right, because we're looking for a performance audit. How can we reduce mistakes, reduce costs, increase service, all of that, and that's what the end result would be.
And just
Is
in
that
dropping
performance
down,
audit?
looking at those 12 things, just briefly, like I said, I didn't review it at length, but that scope of work included all kinds of things, like our continuum of services, our staffing ratios, our non-public school placements. There was a due process, mediation, settlements, bullet items. So it's literally covering everything. It did seem, I'm going to read it more closely, but it did seem very comprehensive, and I think it'll help.
With due process, like how we can do better, basically, on just basic meetings, sort of.
I didn't read it in depth, but it was one of the points, so I'm going to assume that's it. Yeah.
You're correct. Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot in this.
Yeah.
Thank you for that information,
Sure.
Tim.
My
That was
pleasure.
Very interesting. I like the history.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, are we in agreement that we'd like to see this draft agreement and read through the scope of work and maybe review what's on the website and see this back next month as an agenda item?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, I'm seeing good consent here, and there are no other noted new business items. Is there anything else that anyone wanted to bring up at this time? Because if not, I'm moving on to K. And we are at our adjournment. The next meeting, our regularly scheduled meeting of the board, is Tuesday, December 13th, 2016, where we say goodbye to Mr. Patapow, hello to Dr. Patel. That'll be right here, 6 p.m., and we are adjourned at 8:30 on the dot.